Welcome to LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education, a podcast that focuses on what is happening in education today, connecting everyone to the movers and shakers that are breaking boundaries in the education arena.
Welcome to LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education. You know, a couple months ago, Jerry, we had a podcast called The Toughest Year Yet. And we had a great guest who really showcased all of the struggles that administrators, teachers, students are really going through. And we kind of thought we should dig into that a little bit more based on things we were hearing. So we're doing that today, Jerry.
And I'm excited to hear more about it. It seems counterintuitive that this would be the toughest year yet, when in fact, most schools are back back to normal, whatever that was. But I don't think normal's the same as it used to be. So today we're going to really dig in and get some information about this. We have a broad range of educators with us today. We have three with us. We have Geoff Brignola. He's a high school principal. Julia Evje, and she is a tech integration expert, and Mary Roath, that is a first grade teacher. Before the show, I said to Mary, you work hard for the money, because the ones that have those little ones, they work hard. As a principal, I always admired you in the primary grades because you work so hard. You never get a down moment. So yes, so we're excited to hear from you all. Let's start with Geoff and have you just give us a little background about where your school is, and are you in person, remote? What's happening?
Right, so we're in Jackson, New Jersey. There's two high schools, Jackson Memorial and Jackson Liberty. I'm the principal of Jackson Liberty. We are full population, all students. There is remote, but I guess we can get into that if you have questions, but it's mainly for the kids that have to be quarantined.
Okay. Right. So that they kind of come and go.
So if we have a student that is positive and has to be quarantined, or a close contact that has to be quarantined, obviously they still have to get their schooling. So we do a synchronous with the teacher in the classroom. So the teacher is teaching the kids in front of her, as well as on a laptop. It's a little bit difficult, like she can't just stand right in front of the laptop, but
sure,
sometimes you can maneuver it right to the board if you have things going on there, or to you. Some of them take it around with them as they walk in the classroom, to make sure that those kids are getting the instruction that they need, that sure, we are telling them that they have to be home for.
Right. And so some of your teachers are doing double duty. They're teaching in person and remote, both, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
tough task.
Not all of them are too happy about it, and it's understandable because it's a very difficult job to do when you have to do both remote and in person.
Right. Very exhausting. You bet.
But they're doing a fantastic job, I must have to say.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I tip my hat to them as much as I can, because I can't imagine having to go through what they're going through in the classroom. And I see it when I go into the classroom.
Yeah,
I bet you do. Julia, can you tell us where you're from and what you do in your school?
Sure. So I am working for Racine Unified School District, which is in Racine, Wisconsin. We're a pretty large school district, about 17,000 students that we service. So I support 6 buildings, anywhere from straight elementary, and I do have a K-8 building. So currently we are in person learning, but then like Geoff said, we do have some instances where students are quarantined at home, and they will have the opportunity. What we do is listen and learn to instruction. So we're not really asking our students to do that concurrent, or our teachers to do that concurrent teaching right now. We're just giving them the opportunity to listen and learn. And then after we came back from break, unfortunately with Omicron, and we did have some staffing issues. So we do have instances where a whole school will need to go remote. And we've only had 2 of our schools do that so far, but we're taking every day as it comes, and we're just doing the best that we can.
Oh, absolutely. I'll be interested to hear about your take on technology skills and how they've changed in the last 2 years. But before we do that, let's talk to Mary. Mary, welcome, and tell us where you're from and what you do.
So I am from Maryland. I work for Cecil County Public Schools. I am a first grade teacher. We are in school. Our county does offer they call it a blended virtual program, but it's only offered for grades 3 through 12. So I'm really happy that they did not put our little ones in it. So those are for those who are strictly virtual. We have not had the issue where we've had to shut any schools down, which is wonderful. Our numbers are very, very high in our county, so we are pushing through still. When I have students that are quarantined, which is often, we just send work home with them and we keep communication. So luckily we are not doing any hybrid style. That was a big worry. We were that last year. So knock on wood, we are still here.
How long is your quarantine right now?
It depends. It is 5 days. But some of them, if, it's a parent, they have to quarantine because at this age, for 5 or 6 year olds, they can't quarantine away from their parent. So I have one who has missed already 2 weeks. She gets to come back next week.
Gotcha.
So it's tricky.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. So you have the littles, you have the primary students.
Yes.
I know it's always a struggle with first graders. You have such a wide range of abilities.
Yes.
But this year is probably a little different, I predict. What are you finding?
So major gaps. The students that were enrolled last year, I have the higher group of students, but they didn't think about the ones that were homeschooled last year that did, we're just in kindergarten, we're going to do the workbooks. So I have very high students to very low, still working on holding a pencil. So that's a big struggle, just these gaps. First grade is just, those younger years are just so important. And you are seeing so much that was missed. In, some that were in school in pre-K, if they did attend pre-K, March 13th, 2020 shut down. If they were here last year we were just some in school, low numbers, or hybrid. We even shut down, we're virtual, and then weren't even on. So we're seeing a lot of the, not just academics, but the social emotional is a huge, huge problem.
Can you say more about that? What do you mean the social emotional has been a bigger problem?
So for example, I have a few students who have never even been in a daycare setting. This is their very first year.
Oh, wow.
So usually if they were to have come here in pre-K or even kindergarten, they would have had a lot of those, just being in centers. You learn how to be with others. So
how to do school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not even just about the academics. Like, I'll have so many, like my morning meetings are so much more about social emotional, this year more than ever, just how to be with others, reactions, feelings. And, my teammate and I were just talking about, we didn't realize that, because one of I'm not sure if you're familiar with second step lessons. And
yes.
So we do those about once a week for our morning meeting. And we were talking about feelings, like looking at facial expressions. And we realized that a lot of them, they didn't know because we're wearing masks. And just from being home, they just weren't exposed to a lot of these expressions.
Wow. Do you wear masks all day now?
Yes.
Oh, all of you do. Are you all shaking your head? Yes. Everyone wears a mask.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you also mentioned the fine motor. I didn't really think about that. Typically holding a pencil, things like that, they're learning maybe at the end of preschool, but certainly through kindergarten. And that is something that they miss.
Absolutely. Yes. Something you just wouldn't think about. So we our curriculum didn't change. So we had to find ways to work all that in.
Sure. I bet.
The social part is huge, the interaction part. And I'll give you an example. I have freshmen, ninth graders now, who, when this thing first started, that March of 2 years ago, up to now, some of those kids were on full remote from March to the end of the year for the entire next year. So they're coming into a high school setting. Basically, the last time they were with people was in 7th grade.
Yes.
So the interpersonal communication it's probably the biggest thing that I'm seeing in the high school. That, I mean, obviously there's that achievement gap that
Sure.
we've created or exacerbated, I guess, with no fault of our own, but the kids being home on remote learning, which is it's not learning. I mean, you're learning, but it's not school learning.
Right.
But that social interaction is the biggest problem I'm seeing.
Are high school teachers feeling like they have to re-socialize students to?
As best they can,
And that's not a favorite thing for high school teachers to do.
No, and you throw on all the social media that's going, that, they live, the phone in a high school is a third appendage up here.
Oh, sure.
And it's brutal. You could do a whole podcast on that, social media, just with the students.
What's happening with your social media?
It's brutal. What are you asking me?
Yeah.
I mean, so you have the amount that all they want to do is TikTok or say something about someone else, or just, obviously there are some kids out there that are using social media in a good way. We have great kids that do great things philanthropically, and that they use their social media for as well. But the stuff that comes with the, whether it's cyberbullying or just not being able to, they're always down in their phone. It's really difficult for teachers. Distraction.
From what they need to be doing. Yes. Yeah. When I was a high school teacher, high school principal, this kind of dates me. I called Facebook the other F word. Because
that is dating you, because now it is your favorite other F word now, but
right.
Yeah, because
MySpace started it all off, if you want to really date yourself.
MySpace.
That's right.
Now we're really dating ourselves. And Mary and Julia are like, my what?
I got it.
Yes. But so many of the reasons that students were referred to the office had to do with social media.
Yeah.
And it was affecting school. Yes. I'm sure it's worse, much worse now. Yes.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about that later, Geoff, about the discipline aspect as well, because I can only imagine that you're seeing some things that you've never seen before. Julia, you're across schools. What are you seeing?
Well, my unique perspective, kind of doing the push into classrooms, I get to see all gamuts. And so I agree with everything that, you've all said so far. But for me, what I really see is the focus, or the lack thereof of the focus. When Mary's talking about the first graders, I'm thinking when I went into that kindergarten classroom, if they don't want to do the learning, they just walk away, because that's what they did at home, right? If you were sick and tired of looking at that teacher on the computer, you just walked away. You didn't have to ask to go to the bathroom. Again, you just went to the bathroom in your home, got a snack. And so those poor kindergarten and first grade teachers are really doing those routines and teaching them even now in January. They just are not independent when it comes to that focus. Also, for all grade levels, when we were teaching remotely, it wasn't the traditional school day hours. So we were in front of the computer a lot less. They did have the opportunity to meet one-on-one with the teachers, but in the middle of the week, we had an asynchronous Wednesday. So again, it wasn't even the 5 full school days. So just building up that stamina of being back in school face-to-face for a full school day, that focus has really been a struggle for my teachers and students.
You all bring out so many good points that those of us that are not in a building don't think about.
Right.
So many things. Yes, this is very informative.
I know.
Very much so. Julia, I'm wondering, have you seen an increase in tech skills among students, staff?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
So we had a unique situation, as in when we went remote, we were not a one-to-one district. And so rather than being able to plan out a timeline on how we would move one-to-one, we really just had to react rather than be proactive.
Sure.
More so that we were actually just having parents come in a car pickup line and we were throwing technology to them. Here's a packet, here's a QR code that'll send you to some district videos, and kind of good luck situation, right? And so last year, if you would think about that being the hardest year yet, I really think it was trying to bring students and staff and their tech skills up where they needed to be. We also had a unique situation where we went ahead and we asked that all of our staff members became Google Level 1 certified. We thought that was really important to just get them those basic skills that they were going to need on the day-to-day basis. Now, so when I look at a typical group of second graders or even middle schoolers, I'm blown away by what they can do. You know, we don't have to worry about those little tech skills of logging onto the computer.
Right.
Let's all take time to do that. They're naturals at that. So now it's really almost finding that balance. You know, they're really techie, those skills are up there. But like you were saying, the paper and pencil skills are there. You know, are not there. They don't have that pen grip or any of those skills that you would learn when you're physically in a classroom. So it's really been a balance of great tech skills were gained, but we're also missing some other skills.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. You know, Geoff, you touched on the discipline, and I want to dig into that a little bit because I know you see that a lot. And we'll start at high school, and then we'll go to middle school, and then we'll go to the elementary school, primary. You know, I just know that ninth graders, I always thought that eighth graders were kind of chill and cool, but then something clicked when they got to high school and they became these, you know, kind of ants in their pants kids again, like they were in sixth grade. So I can't even imagine what, as you already referenced, the ninth graders, what's happening now. I mean, you've got them, obviously, they're always on their phone. That's always a struggle. But, you know, with the social media, there were so many trends that were happening that were actually threatening to teachers. Did you see any of that? Was there anything like that you were seeing?
So that one that was in the beginning of the year, the was it the TikTok, the different things that you do a different month?
Right.
That September was destroy bathrooms. So we did have a couple of like the soap dispensers that were vandalized a little bit, but nothing major like you saw that was going on in other schools. Unfortunately, though, every time something like that comes out, you have to get a meeting together and talk to your administrators. You got to talk to your teachers at faculty meetings. You got to talk to security that, you know, this stuff is coming down. We got to keep an eye on it. So it just brought another level of focus that needed to be drawn away from somewhere else.
Right.
So that was a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, I bet.
Fortunately, we didn't have any of the other things happening in that monthly challenge yet. I mean, we're only in January, so there's a few months left.
I mean, I haven't heard as much about them lately. Are they being phased out? Are kids bored with those and moving on to something else? Or,
you know, I don't know. I think it's just until the next one. I think the latest one was the song with they were using the phone to look like a gun, and they were going in the big areas and groups of kids, and some kid would come in and everyone would fall down. I can't remember what the heck the challenge was called, but that was the latest one that was brought to our attention. So, you know, there might be a lot of the one good thing about social media is they may be hearing that a lot of schools have these, you know, strict policies on that. Anytime you're playing around anything with gun, you know, even with your fingers and stuff, it's taken very seriously. So there was a few incidences, but nothing major.
What other things are you seeing discipline-wise that is a little different this year than others?
You know, similar to what Julie was talking about, it's like maybe in the younger kids where they just, if they have to go to the bathroom, they just get up and leave, or if they don't want to be there. You see that with the kids, but maybe not necessarily. It just complete disregard for adult authority in a school. You know, I can tell you several examples of just myself with kids asking them to do something, you know, as simple as maybe remove a hat. We have a no head covering policy, and just blatantly, no, I'm not doing that. Yeah. So I'm not trying to push up the importance of the principal, but if they're telling the principal of the building in the middle of the hallway, I'm not doing that, you know what they're doing to teachers. So,
this is not the first time I've heard this before. I've heard this several times that, administrators are having a hard time connecting with the students in a way.
well, because you also want to have that empathy for what they've gone through.
Yeah.
But we try and also impress upon them that we're only here to help you. We know you've gone through this unbelievable that no one, if you told someone 3 years ago, this is what's going to happen in the next 2 years, they would think that you were out of your mind.
Oh yeah.
So understanding what they have gone through, but trying to get across that we want to help you as much as we can. It's a little bit more difficult than just them hearing that,
Right. Yeah. There's a little sense of entitlement. It seems
a big sense of entitlement.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, we're trying to do everything for these kids. When it wasn't, I pushed and pushed and pushed. I got a prom for these kids. It was like, we're not doing it. We're not doing proms. And I just said, put the deposit down. Whatever's going to happen, thank God it happened where it opened up a little bit in the spring. Right. Having the graduation. And, when that first happened, we had a virtual graduation. And then the kids started emailing me. This is the first year. We still want to have our grad. So we did a graduation in July. After they already did their virtual graduation, just because that these things are important to them, and we'll do these things that are important to them, but meet us halfway.
Right. How are parents reacting to all of this? Are they seeing the struggles that you're having, or?
They're seeing them, and I don't want to paint a broad stroke on every parent, but I think some of them are using it as an excuse to why their kids might be behaving a certain way. And to an extent, maybe they are. There is an excuse, but it's not everybody. Right. So, I think it's like with every school, you have your parents that are going to be understanding and work with the kid to help them improve their behavior. And then there's parents that blame the school for everything.
Yes. Our last guest that talked about this topic said principals had reported to him like fighting is up, altercation, I guess, kinds of things, just because they don't know how to act. So.
Like I said, the social interaction has declined tremendously, and that's part of it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. How about in the middle school, upper elementary setting, Julia? What are you seeing?
Again, I think back to that one-to-one piece that's unique to our district, going along with the behaviors, we have really had to react to the student having access to technology constantly. Thankfully, we haven't had too many big instances of problems, but just a constant chatting with each other and being able to be sneaky and have their own Zoom meetings and Google Meets on the side. They'll just kind of check out of what's going on in the classroom and do their own little social group gathering using technology.
So it's the note passing, right? It's the note passing.
Exactly, right? Right? It's the digital version of that now.
Right.
So really just teaching them digital safety and something that we've talked about before, but now it's just so much more real because all of those technologies and platforms are at their fingertips. I mean, we've had issues with kids at 2:00 in the morning messaging me Google Zoom links and wanting to talk to me about things. And it's just like, wow, they really just don't know how to turn it off. And they don't know that appropriate way to use the tool that's been given to them.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. I understand. Like you said, Jerry, things I never really even thought about.
Right. And I think we add to that, a lot of adults don't know how to use technology properly either. So we're not good role models.
No, we're not. And, Julia, it's funny because, I tend to be a night owl and I feel like in these times because I work from home. So I'm constantly on. So I'm really no better than your middle schoolers, I think. So I'm going to try to work on my coping skills and try to set those boundaries. Remember, I said my one word is balance. I'm working on it, Jerry. I'm not there yet, though.
Yeah.
All right, Mary, what's going on with your little primary kiddos?
I would say that behaviors, they're still similar just because they're still little.
Yeah.
A lot more of this year I've seen more temper tantrums.
You mean for you?
I've had my fair share this year.
I'm sure.
But, and thinking back that, this child has never even had a school experience. She's just been home. She's not even a daycare experience. So, like that, now I would say she's more on a kindergarten level with her behaviors, probably. They're very chatty this year, but they've missed each other.
Yeah.
I have had a lot of dealing with, I'm in a Title I school, so we have a lot of poverty. So a lot of trauma. So what they've been with, they're happy to be here. So, I've been the teacher on the ground with the students this year,
right,
helping them. So, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Just what they've been what they have gone through.
Wow.
Yeah.
Another layer to this, Mary, is you're a mom. You're a mom of babies. So they're little ones, not babies, but they're toddlers. So how have things had to shift a little bit in these times? Are things a little harder for you as well?
Absolutely.
So from the parent side.
Yes. Last year was tough. But this year probably harder with the stress of just the school year. But it has, I've always been a teacher who I don't open up my school stuff until the kids are asleep. So I have adjusted that I am not, it can wait till the morning. I need to rest.
Good for you.
I need to rest.
Good.
So that has, it took me till probably like October, November, because I just felt stressed all the time. My patience were shot.
Yeah.
So going home and toddlers, they're not independent yet. So that would spiral. It took probably when my daughter one day said, "Mommy, why are you being so rude?" And that broke my heart. I didn't know she knew that word. She used it correctly. I was proud of her, but that really hit me, and it was true. And they say what happens at school, leave it there. But this year it's been
hard.
difficult too. So
yeah.
If I could give you a piece of advice, do that. Follow that and don't stop doing that. Almost 30 years I've been doing that, doing this job, and I was like that, and I took it home.
Yep.
You're way ahead of the curve. Keep doing what you're doing.
It makes a difference. And our admin has been very supportive. They have children. So, they're like, don't do anything at night. Don't. You do enough during the day. This takes a lot out on us this year.
Good. That's wonderful. It is so important to have that support from your school, from your school leaders, from your colleagues. And we've talked a lot about that in other podcasts too, the importance of that. So that's wonderful. Also, we were actually going to be recording this last week, but your daycare shut down. So you have some of those struggles too, because of the Omicron and different variants and things kind of shifting. So that's a little bit of a struggle too when there's no daycare. Yeah.
This time last year we were still virtual. So if daycare was shut down, I'd have to do it with my two little ones. Parents were wonderful. They knew what was happening. We needed a break. So that was a big struggle too. So,
That's awful. But, I'm hoping that right now, I guess we're not seeing the coping skills that we want, but to some degree, hopefully that obviously we are for adults, but hopefully for students as well. What about other parent issues or concerns? Other parents have the same situations. Have you been seeing that, Geoff and Julia, where parents are just not able to, they have to stay home from work? You have those struggles in that way as well?
Yeah. And not just the parents of the students here, but my teachers who are parents with the same thing. Yeah. If they have young kids and, someone's gotten sent home because they're a close contact or the daycare got shut down. So, this district has been really, really great with that for the most part. especially when it was all first happening. It just, it puts the district as a whole in a bind as well, because now you have, are they getting the FMLA stay home pay, or are they doing the have to take a day? But the district has done a pretty good job with that so far. And, you can understand, now I'm going to the parents of the students, their frustration too. I mean, they're seeing the stuff that we see with the news. So I'll just take an example, the masks. You have some areas where people are saying, the governors are saying no masks. And then some states, you have to wear a mask. So that it's a huge point of contention here. In New Jersey, Governor Murphy says they have to wear a mask. And it's not the district has a choice to say yes or no. This is what the executive order is. And that's what, I don't want to wear this thing any more than anybody else does. But we have to. And, when you hear parents say, well, why don't you just, buck the trend and do, be a rebel or something. Well, I would love to do that, but I also have 3 kids, a wife, and some colleges that I'm paying for right now. So my job is a little bit more important than this stupid mask.
Right. Yeah, no, it's so true.
But you can see that you can understand the frustration.
Have you been having to do double duty? I know my husband said one day, came home and said, as a superintendent, I never thought that I would be covering a class, running a Zoom meeting, and swabbing a kid for COVID at the same time. Are you having to do some double duty?
Jerry asked me before if I had a substitute, and I hadn't had a substitute yet, but I did have to go back to my Red Bank regional days and coach basketball.
Oh, I'm sure you didn't complain about that.
Ran a couple practices and then a game because the whole staff was out with COVID.
Wow.
And we don't want to shut the whole thing down, so we kept it going and laced them up and put the whistle on, and then we ran.
Good for you. That must have been fun.
Lost.
I'm sure you loved it.
All right.
Well.
So if we were to flip things around for a minute and talk about, have you seen any silver linings in what you've gone through in the past 2 years? And what are they, if you have seen some? Can we start? Who would like to start with that one?
Yeah. You kind of referenced one earlier.
I think I'd have to go back to my technology skills example. Baptism by fire is really what they went through and experienced, and it's impressive. And I think those foundational skills in technology are going to help them in the long run. Kids are intuitive, they're smart. I've had teachers who say, well, can you come in and remind my kids how to open a Zoom meeting and raise their hand? And before I even get them logged in, they're doing everything on their own. They're very intuitive and they're very smart. And they enjoy learning that way because that's their new normal, right? And so I think we need to acknowledge those skills that they have innately, but also that those skills were really just thrown at them and they thrived with them. So I am so proud of our staff and our students when it comes to their technology skills and really just adapting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's huge. Right.
The technology for the staff was huge. I mean, the amount that they had to take in and then get back out in a short period of time. Now, they were always good at technology, but when the fire's hitting and now you're doing everything technology, we have great staff that is very good at turnkeying and helping out the other staff. So we have some, Google level presenters that got certified, and then they keep on passing that information along. The staff also, they can see where those gaps are more, I think, and meet the students where they're at from when they come into the classroom.
Right. So they're more skilled in formative assessment then, and then personalize their learning that way?
Yeah. Now, some of it was forced. We had the New Jersey SMART that started this year where it was a test in the very beginning to see where kids were. But I'm just talking about more individually, like working with kids individually. You're going to see where they are. You're going to get to know them much better and see, why are they acting? You might get more insight on why they're acting the way they are, because they might open up and say, well, I had to babysit my brother and sister till 12 o'clock at night because my mom's work. Whatever the case is,
right.
That's definitely a positive that's come out of this. Obviously, for the students, it's being able to deal with adversity. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't get any more adverse than what these kids have had to go through. And, a bad cliche, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Well, this has made kids stronger in that aspect. Absolutely.
That's great.
Yes.
And I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier. It's about that empathy too. So now teachers have had to, through Zoom last year, had to find ways to connect with students and build relationships virtually, right? Well, remotely. So now taking some of those skills and still using those face to face is such a good, because a lot of times, we just plow through, we got pacing guides and you kind of plow through, and, conferencing sometimes doesn't happen. But if they realize the benefit of that and they're bringing it forward this year, I think that's amazing. I love that. That's a big one. How about you, Mary? Silver lining.
I would say maybe taking time to enjoy the little moments even more. I miss seeing their faces. So breakfast, usually 9:05 hits, we're done, we're cleaned up. It's time for morning meeting and math. I extend it. I love seeing their faces, their smiles. I like seeing their interactions with each other. Taking more time just to talk about things that aren't school related, building those relationships even more.
Absolutely. We like to conclude our podcast with a question. I found out today, I thought my mentor was the person that always asked me this question, but I found out Benjamin Franklin would ask people this question. Yeah, I found that out today. So when he would meet people, he would say, what has become clear? So if you think about the last 2 years, what has become clear to you? And this can be something big. It can be something very small. Geoff, you look like you have an idea.
No, I don't. What has become clear? Well, I'll go with what I was talking about before. I think no matter what type of adversity is going to be thrown at the school, with the teachers, the administrators, the students, the parents, we will find a way to get through. No matter what it takes, we'll find a way.
Yes. That's great. Great to hear.
Yeah.
I think what would be clear to me is we've always known this, right? But how much teachers really care for their students. They have just gone above and beyond for the circumstances that we've talked about and how they've really adapted to meet their students, not only where they are, but in the framework that we've been forced into. And so I just really appreciate all those teachers who are there with their students every single day.
Absolutely. Another great one. And Mary?
I think maybe just how resilient children are at any age. They can do it. They're amazing.
Yes. You know what's interesting to me in all of your answers? You're all educators, but not one of you talked about academics, parts of speech, all of those things. So I think what's become clear to me through this podcast is the power of people, that you all just really make a difference and dig in. And we appreciate so much what you are all doing to make a difference and keep things going for our kids. If it's providing the prom, making time to talk to them and find out what happened. It's just happens with you all every single day on so many levels. And Jamie, I don't know about you, but I learned so much from our guests today.
I did too.
Things I hadn't thought about. This was really great.
It builds our empathy, but I really appreciate the fact that everyone is focused on what really matters. And I think we kind of needed that too. I think we were on a path of, and data is important, but it was all about the data, right? That was forefront. And I think now we're realizing that there are more important things that we need to be focusing on. So that certainly is a silver lining. Thank you all so much for taking your precious time out to join us.
After a hard day of work.
Yes.
Yes.
So now, I know. We really appreciate it. And we'll check back in with you and see how things are going. But we really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. And if you would like to stay linked up, Be sure to follow us on Apple and Spotify.